Revolution. This is Brother Leonard, the Truth Seeker, coming to you with a few minutes of truth. And I do promise you this time it is just a few minutes. Actually, it's going to take up some time. This is actually local news for me. Uh, Local in the sense that I moved to this neighborhood shortly about 2 years ago. And about last year, I started noticing these yard signs that said, "Pray for Father John." Now, I don't know who Father John is. It's not that big a deal. I'm not Catholic, so Father John, okay, pray for Father John. Big deal. All right. But a little bit later on, okay, a little later on, I started seeing these billboards that said basically Bishop Kulick, why? Okay, why? I don't understand. And then I saw another one of these billboards, same thing, that says Bishop Kulick, why? And it said at the bottom, paid for by friends of Father John. So, you know me, that means that I got to do a little bit of digging, because that kind of like, wait a minute. The same folk that's sitting up there putting on these yard signs, pray for Father John, are asking the bishop why about Father John. So what is it that Bishop Kulick and Father John, what beef do they have? Well, let me show you something, because this is what I am talking about. Yeah, you see the sign here? I'm gonna play this a little bit for you. The sign is basically what it's going to do.
All right, I'm going to go through the cycle again, but this is one of the signs in my neighborhood from the Friends of Father. See, look. All right, here's another sign that I've seen now out here. This is in downtown Irwin. All right, right here, if you can see this is another one of these signs that is out here in this neighborhood. It's outside, right outside the school, Queen of Angels School. But yeah, it's a little quiet protest, but yeah, they're out here.
Yeah, come to find out, the story. The story is somewhat interesting. I'm going to play this other video for you. It is a news report from when all the stuff was happening that is still going on today. So let me play this news report. Thank you, KDKA in Pittsburgh, for putting this thing up on YouTube, and I'm using this as a means of educational purposes and news reporting purposes, just to support the case. So here we go.
And community members in Westmoreland County are continuing to react to the forced resignation of Father John Moineau from the Diocese of Greensburg last week. Father John's resignation came from the diocese after the criminal past of Sean Harity, an employee at Immaculate Conception Parishes Cemetery, came to light when he was arrested last Wednesday. Harity is currently facing multiple charges, including aggravated indecent assault involving a minor, He had previously worked at the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish in North Huntington, where an FBI fingerprint check should have disqualified him from employment. The diocese says that was ignored again when Harity started working at IC last year. Local parishioners gathered in Irwin today to protest Father John's resignation. Father John had worked for the parish for more than 36 years before he left the position. Those out in support of him today say they know their pastor and they believe what happened was an honest mistake.
We felt there was no due process as part of this, and he's been with us for a number of years, and we know him intimately, dearly. We know his heart. We know that all he did in this case was a clerical error.
Bishop Kulick says Father John previously signed a letter saying he personally reviewed Harity's paperwork ahead of hiring him. 3 diocese employees are also on paid leave because of the situation.
All right, let me get this off. Hold on. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So we have a clear understanding of what's going on here. Okay. Let me get you up some factual information as we go head on. That was a very good summary of what was happening. This is from the Dialogue, a Catholic blog, news blog site. It is national, but they had this story. But let me give you some of the particulars. Now, Sean Harity, who's 47 years old, he was arrested on May 8th of 2024 for allegedly SA. We understand that we really can't say a lot of what we're going to say, but basically sexually assaulting a girl for 2 years. She was 16 from what we understand also. So he was arrested and charged with indecent assault, rape, statutory sexual assault, aggravated indecent assault, and other related charges. He was also on bail for $250K. He has since been released. And I tried to find his next court date, and as of this recording, I was not able to do so. Okay. Now, prior to this, Harity had spent some time in jail, had spent some prison time, after he had, pleaded guilty to a string of offenses in 2001, 2002, that included indecent exposure, lewdness, disorderly conduct, driving under the influence, marijuana possession, fraud, forgery. So this cat is a criminal. Okay? Now, let's fast forward up to 2012. Now, he was hired in 2012 by a pastor who is Leonard Stuvnik, or something like that. But he was hired in 2012 at the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. All these Catholic names, just trust me, I'm going to mess them up. Okay, I'm just going to mess them up. All right, but because they all get kind of, to me, they get kind of crazy. But you understand. But he was hired as a maintenance person there. And since then, he was then transferred in, I believe they said in 2018, he was transferred to the Immaculate Conception Cemetery as a groundskeeper. The reason why he was, here's the thing about, people with good hearts sometimes. And this seems to be a situation where I believe that, like a lot of pastors do, Mr. Harity just getting out of jail, and at the time probably just getting out of jail, having difficulty trying to find employment, and the pastor of that parish at the time basically took it upon himself to hire him as a maintenance worker in order for him to have a job at that time, which in a lot of cases, these are things that we have seen plenty of times before. All right, we've seen this stuff before, so there's no knock on that per se. However, we know that but since then, leadership of the parish changed from Studvik, he retired, and Moineau falls right in. They give, he's been there, so he falls right up in there and is now taking the leadership position of the church. Okay, now it's not clear that he knew Harity's past. It's not clear that I don't know. But what is clear is the fact that in 2018, the Pennsylvania Catholic Church was under a lot of fire. I've also reported on this back when the report was out, where 300 cases from almost like the recorded history of Pennsylvania all the way up until the years of up until the time of the report, of 300 cases of sexual abuse, sexual molestation, all types of different stuff within the Catholic Church here in the state of Pennsylvania. Big report. And the current governor was actually leading the efforts of the investigation of that report. We reported on that here when the report was released back in 2018. In 2020, Bishop Kulick, Larry Kulick, becomes the head of the diocese in Greensburg. And a part of him becoming leading the diocese in Greensburg, he started up a situation where they have a safeties coordinator, where basically they're the ones that will look into issues that, if a priest is accused of something, they're the ones that would be in charge. So he set that up in all the parishes and in all the schools. He set up a person like that in all the parishes and all the schools. Also, he also mandated that every volunteer and employee of the diocese must have received and passed a background check. A background check that would be the state issued one, which for us in Pennsylvania is the Act 33-34 clearances, which is basically they're looking for child abuse type of stuff. And then there's also the FBI fingerprinting. The FBI fingerprinting, most of y'all probably are aware of that for your job situations. So they require those two things to be on file. So when Harity is arrested, and he loses that job as a groundskeeper, rightfully so. They look in his file. They don't find the clearances. They don't find the fingerprints. They don't find none of that in his file. Now, it's also admitted that Father John, beautiful Father John as he is, when Harity was over at the St. Anne's Parish and he was transferred over to the Immaculate Conception, that he was supposed to do a criminal background check again. And I think it was in 2020 or something like that. But all this stuff was going through. He was supposed to have done a background check on him then. Father John signed in an affidavit, signed in that situation that his clearances were good, basically. But yet there were no clearances in his file. But he said that the clearances were good. Okay? I'll come back to that in the commentary, because the commentary is going to be interesting. All right? So now they find this out. The church, Kulick finds this out. And now Kulick is basically saying, okay, where's his stuff? He doesn't have it. So at this point, Father John resigns in that capacity. But he was already going on medical leave anyways, because he has stage 4 cancer, or at least he did. I'm not sure of his prognosis right now. But he does, at the time he had stage 4 cancer, but he was already going on leave. So he just, instead of leaving a month later, he basically leaves on the 28th of May, which basically brings the outrage and the signs from the parishioners. Now, Bishop Kulick, he doesn't stop there. Bishop Kulick, after the resignation, he then goes to the detective bureau in Westmoreland County to begin an investigation of the employees over at St. Elizabeth, Ann Seton, and Immaculate Conception in Irwin. They go through the investigation. This is where some of the other 3 employees were basically fired as well. Support staff. All right. So now, not only that, Bishop Kulick then goes, because he's in CYA mode right now. You know what CYA means. Cover your... They're in CYA mode. So he then goes and conducts an audit of his entire diocese, looking to make sure that everyone in the diocese that is working and volunteering in the diocese has had cleared their background checks, and in both forms of background checks, the state and federal. And after that audit was concluded this past summer, they went through the audit. After they concluded the audit, guess how many cases were found that did not have all of their employees at all the parishes and at all the schools, the employees and volunteers. How many of them had employees that had not passed their background checks? Guess how many? The only incident where an employee was employed by the parish within the diocese that did not have a background check was over at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton and Immaculate Conception in Irwin, who was pastored by, Father. Now, I know I'm going on this. I just wanted to get all this stuff out because this has always been so very interesting to me since I've wow, this is fun. Okay, so this is where I'm going to deal with my commentary. Because to me, as a person who follows and reports on pastoral accountability issues, I'm siding with Bishop Kulick. Because Bishop Kulick, in this instance, in this situation, not saying that in every situation, but in this instance, in this situation, Bishop Kulick is actually doing the right thing and doing what is worth accountability. I am also glad that in the midst of this, Father John Moineau has admitted to the negligence that he had, accepted the punishment that he was given, and even though I don't agree with this part of it for Bishop Kulick, they allowed him to be reassigned to a different parish. However, the administrative and day-to-day operations of the parish, he was not allowed to do any of that stuff anymore. But he's allowed to go. They ask him to preach every so often and blah, 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 you know, that sort of thing. You know, I would say they need to sit his ass down, keep his ass down, because I'm rushing ahead of myself a little bit. But this is what accountability looks like, especially if you're going to have a governing situation. This is what accountability looks like, because that employee, even though, I'll say this too, I don't think I said this before, even though the employee Charity, when he did those crimes, he was not on church property doing those crimes. These were basically during his off times. But he still was a representative of those parishes. Okay? And there still need to be accountability for them. And this is where we're going to deal with this. See, now, Father John, he admitted to it, admitted that it was definitely negligence. So I have a problem with the people. And as someone who is power to the people, I sit up here, I raise my fist of revolution in defiance of the system for the people. But see, this is where we as people need to get it. And I was thinking that just because they're Catholic, just because they're Pentecostal, just because they're Baptist, church folk are church folk. And once you go against a pastor, they are going to ride and die for their pastor, in spite of their pastor's wrongdoing. We deal with this all the time. And it doesn't change from whether you're Catholic, whether you're Episcopalian, whether you're Anglican, whether you're Presbyterian, whether you're Baptist, whether you're Kojic, Apostolic, pick a denomination, non-denominational, charismatic, it doesn't matter. Does not matter. When you mess with a pastor, they feel a certain kind of way about it. I find it sad that you knew people who were at this protest last year and who are still having their signs up, who still are in support. Now, I can grant it. If you're praying for him because he's sick, that's fine. By all means, continue to pray. But if you're praying for him and asking questions like, why wouldn't you ever again allow Father John to celebrate Mass at our IC at our, I guess as I see Immaculate Conception. There we go. And Elizabeth Ann Seton parishes. If you're asking that question, if you're one of those that have the sign and asking that question, we have to ask you this question. If that was your daughter, worked at your church, your daughter's offender worked at your church, wouldn't you want all the heads to roll? Even your pastor who allowed your daughter to be in the presence of that predator. Because this is what happened. This man was allowed close. Not to say that it happened on the school grounds or anything like that, or on the church grounds or anything like that, but this man, representative of your church, a predator, was allowed to be so because Father John had took a blind eye to the situation. That's negligence. That is negligence. The sad part about it is that y'all sitting up here upset that he's not your pastor anymore, when he clearly does not show that he has the care for the people that y'all say that he is over y'all. He doesn't really have the care for y'all, because he knew. This is the other thing too. When you're dealing with issues of integrity, okay? When you're dealing with issues of integrity, this is another integrity issue. This issue here is an integrity issue because when given the opportunity to pass those things, to pass the clearances, he checked the box yes when he in fact did not. That's a lie. He lied to Kulick. He lied to Harity. He lied to the cemetery people that was working with him. And he also lied to you, the members of Immaculate Conception. He lied to you, members of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish. He lied to both of y'all. Lied to both your congregations. But yet, it was a clerical error. That was not a clerical error. That was negligence. Well, that's what's going on in my neighborhood. All right, this has been Brother Leonard, the Truth Seeker. Remember, you can follow me here on this channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like. Also hit that bell so that when you ding, 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 when I upload a video, another video like this, upload it, boom, you get to see it firsthand. Wow. Also, follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram and Threads. You can also follow me coming to Blue Sky. Coming to Blue Sky soon. Also, I'll be coming to Fanbase. So, yeah, look for me everywhere or whatever. And do whatever. But in the meantime, I want everyone to stay up, stay positive. I know it's a negative situation going out here, but just know that when you decide that your pastor should be still your pastor, even though he's clearly not, y'all need to check that. All right, this is Brother Leonard, the Truth Seeker, coming to you with a few minutes of truth. And once again, revolution.